Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. Across from me is Than Medlam.
Hey.
Well, first of all, what do you do?
I do lots of things. The main thing I do is I teach at ACM at UCO.
Mm-hmm.
I teach voice and a little bit of guitar, and I direct student bands.
Cool. So, I mean, I had you as a voice teacher, then a guitar teacher. Since I haven't been a performance student, I haven't had you in a band setting. But my experience, you're always extremely helpful, extremely straightforward, rather than... so I've always appreciated you, and then, like, being friends with you on Facebook, you always say very relevant and important things that I feel like a lot of people really appreciate and need coming from someone that they look up to.
Thanks a lot.
So to start with, what brought you to music?
Well, I grew up in a music house. My mom and dad always listened to music. Mom had the record player on anytime that, if dad's on, the TV's on. But if dad's gone, then mom would have the record player and, and be cleaning house and doing what you do when you're, kids and moms.
Yeah.
And they'd take me to like concerts in the park and stuff. Nobody in the family that I ever knew really played any music, but I was around it so often that it was just something that brought joy to everybody and me too, and I wanted to do that. Yeah, wanted to make that.
Well, what was some of the stuff that they would play?
Mom's way into Crosby, Stills and Nash, the Beatles, Carole King, stuff like that.
Cool.
And then Dad's maybe the biggest Sabbath fan that has ever lived. He literally wore out multiple copies of Volume 4. Like, he loves Sabbath. And Hendrix, and that kind of stuff is his deal. So I got like the soft side from Mom and the hard side from Dad.
I feel like that's normally how it goes anyways.
Yeah. And then I started playing. The first opportunity I had to play music was in 5th grade. In my grade school, that's when they opened up the band. The band director would come to our 4th grade class and play a few notes on all the instruments and say, pick the one you want, right? And I thought clarinet sounded beautiful.
Yeah,
I really wanted to play clarinet, and Mr. Graves said, everybody else playing clarinet is usually girls. You're probably not going to have much fun. You should play trombone. And so I was like, okay, I just wanted to play something.
Sure.
So I started playing trombone, and I still do. I went to college on a trombone scholarship, which was foreign to my parents because then I started getting into more music that had horns in it, like jazz and stuff like that, and that was completely weird to them. That jazz was not their thing at all.
Well, I mean, jazz at some point became like, it's the thing that everybody listens to back in the day, and then at some point it's like, these like weird smart people only listen to jazz.
Yeah, it was pop music at one time. Yeah. But I guess disco was pop music at one time too.
So I mean, when did you start playing contemporary instruments?
I started playing guitar when I was 13. That's I was playing trombone and having fun doing that. I wasn't really into the jazz thing yet because jazz band got me into it. And jazz band didn't happen until like 7th grade, so I guess I had like just started. But I still wanted to play rock and roll. I mean, that's what I listened to all the time, And in general, when you want to play an instrument, you want to play what you hear. That's one thing I run into a bunch with parents of young guitar students. You know, it's like, well, what do you think he should be learning? Well, I think he should be learning what he wants to play, because otherwise he's not going to have any fun.
Exactly.
And the more fun he has, the more he's going to play and practice. You know.
Yeah.
So I always tell people to learn the music you listen to. You know, I mean that's why you wanted to play.
Exactly. What was one of the first things that you got your hands on?
So my first guitar was a Gretsch Traveling Wilburys signature model. I think we got it out of the Penny's catalog. It was 3/4 size. And you can find them floating around here and there once in a while. I think we were in St. Louis a couple of years ago, and I hit a guitar store, and there was one hanging on the wall. Like I almost bought it. I was like, dude, it's my guitar.
Yeah.
But so that was my first guitar, and then the day I got it, we went to some family friend's house that evening, and they had a son that was my younger brother's age. So they went out and played with their Christmas presents and stuff like that. And then the adults were hanging out in another room. I had absolutely nothing to do. So I had Tesla, the Great Radio Controversy on cassette.
Nice.
And so I just found a room with a tape player and started working on the intro to Love Song. And I couldn't do any of the fingerstyle stuff, but I could pick out the melody, you know. And so that's I guess that's the first thing I learned how to play. And then my dad's friend showed me a pentatonic scale.
Yeah. That's a great start.
Yeah, right?
And then from there, like, what made you, like, coming out of high school and stuff, what made you go, like, you know what, I don't really want a real job per se. I just...
I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do in high school. I thought maybe I wanted to be an artist. I've always been a huge comic book fan, and art and music were my two main things all through high school. I spent a lot of time drawing, so I actually my first semester at college, I was on dual scholarship for art and for music, and I was officially a visual art major. But luckily, that first semester, I kind of learned that when somebody wants me to draw something, I can't get myself to do it. I just can't draw for other people.
Yeah.
And with music, I don't care at all. I just want to play music. So just tell me, for the most part. There's some things I'd rather not play, but for the most part, just tell me what I need to play and when to start and when to stop.
Yeah.
And I'm good to go. And so that kind of hit me like maybe art is not the way to go here.
Yeah.
So I changed my major to music and kept doing that.
Yeah. And I mean, so what are your degrees in?
So I've got an associate's in music, a bachelor's in guitar performance, with a large chunk of that being trombone focused. But kind of, I went to school and then for a few years, and then I got my associates in Kansas, and then moved down here to go to UCO and do trombone there. And I did that for a couple of years, and then I kind of asked myself one day, why are you in school? And I couldn't answer the question. Yeah. And so I thought, okay, let's just drop this, right? Because the only reason at that point it got to where the only reason I was going to school is to play in the bands. I'm like, wait, I don't have to. I can just go play.
Yeah.
I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
So I dropped out for a while. I came back and finished what started as a trombone performance degree. Finished it on guitar, so I've got a bachelor's in guitar performance and then a master's in jazz studies with a focus on commercial music production.
Cool.
Mostly a jazz degree, partly a production degree.
Yeah. Has it been hard trying to make a living doing music?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, the key is diversifying. Being able to do lots of different things allows me to, I guess, live the way I want to.
Yeah.
Right. Which can be a double-edged sword, because then you kind of get it programmed into your head that, okay, if I find something I enjoy doing, let's figure out how I can make money at it, right? And that can kind of work against you eventually, because then it can evolve to where you're not doing anything for yourself anymore. So you got to make sure to keep some hobbies around that you just don't take money for, you know. But yeah. When I was working on my master's, I took a class on arts management, and the best thing I learned in that class was the idea of the portfolio career. You know, where if you're in the arts, then you probably don't just do one thing. You do 3 or 4 things. You know, and a lot of the time, the product you're representing is yourself. You know, like, what's your business? Well, it's me. You know, I rent myself out to do 5 or 6 different things. So yeah, and I guess I've been working around the music industry for a long time before I got back into the school thing and teaching and stuff. I worked at Guitar Center for a few years, and I worked at Keeley Electronics building pedals for about 5 years. So it's hard for me to answer sometimes. Like, is that making a living with music? I don't think so. I think it's just soldering stuff together, you know. And then I've always been playing too.
And then how did you get to ACM?
So I got here because well, for one thing, I heard about it when they were opening it up, and I had a couple friends that had already been hired up here, and they're like, "Dude, you should apply," you know. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I was pretty insecure about that, but I went ahead and tried it, and I actually applied to teach guitar, and then Chris and a couple other people really urged me to do voice, to go ahead and check voice on that application too, you know, and yeah, then I came in and did the interview and got the gig, and I've been here for like 7 years.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Have you always wanted to teach?
That's a tough one, because at one time I was an education major, but I changed my major to performance, more because I didn't see a lot of benefit in several of the education classes that I was going to have to take, because I'm like, I want to teach music, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of a different beast. And I had no desire to teach in the public school system. Yeah. So I guess I drifted. The question was, did I always plan on teaching? Yeah. No, but I've always enjoyed talking about music and sharing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the fulfilling part of it to me, is helping people do something that they love and that I love too, you know?
And I feel like I see that in the way that you teach, because you're less doing like, here's the things that you have to know, and it's more like, hey, it's actually really helpful for you if you learn these things. You're like sharing rather than teaching.
Yeah, that's because I don't want to manufacture a bunch of like sub-me's, you know. Yeah. I want to help everybody do the thing that they want to do, you know. And that's the cool thing about, especially what we're doing like here at ACM, is that it's open for everybody. It's about contemporary music, you know. So nobody can come up to you and go, "That's not what we're doing." Yeah, you know.
Sure. And I mean, like, you're ending up doing like a giant range that even some people might like. It's jazz, contemporary music, even, but like you're still doing everything. Yeah,
yeah. And I mean, there's elements of, God, especially how music is now. There's elements of everything in everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And then how'd you get started making and fixing guitars?
My first job out of high school. Well, I take that back. I guess technically my second job out of high school. My first job out of high school was Dairy Queen. But when I left Dairy Queen, I went to work at a little shop in Hutchinson, Kansas, where I'm from. That was run by a guy named Brent Pierce. He's actually in Eureka Springs now, but he had a really nice little guitar shop.
Yeah.
He was big on nice acoustic instruments. That was his big thing. But he was a badass repair guy. He worked for Stuart Mossman. Mossman was was one of the early boutique acoustic guys, like in the '70s. So he worked for him. He just knew so much, man. I didn't learn nearly as much as I should have from him. I was 19. So I worked there for a couple of years and learned a lot. And I've always been a tinkerer. When I was a kid, I built models. I do stuff like that. Everybody in my family does stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like not just their job. Like my mom's always gardening or sewing, or she loves making bread. She makes badass bread. And my dad, he's a total wrench. He loves to work on his motorcycles and stuff like that. And so like, getting out some tools and working on stuff just makes sense to me, So anyway, I worked at that shop mostly because I love guitars, but I wanted to learn more too. So I learned stuff from him. And then when I moved down here, I kept working on my own stuff. And then I started seeing that there were kind of holes that could be filled, a couple of the, right when I started doing that stuff for other people down here, was about the same time that a couple other guys stopped doing it, and one guy died, and so there was a void that could be filled, and I thought, well, shoot, like let's start buying some tools and see if I can fill some of that void. And it's been pretty successful. I don't advertise, and I still stay plenty busy.
Well, I mean, like, even just from like you sharing stuff that you're excited about, like that guitar that you made, like every single like progress picture that I saw, like I was excited with you.
Cool.
It's like, oh, that's cool.
That's what I go for with that kind of stuff. That's what excites me, is to watch process and see things happen. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to go on this journey, why not share it too?
Exactly.
People get excited about that. My Instagram account is nothing but guitars and toys.
Yeah. And it's great. Has it always been like repairing, or like was that like the first guitar that you made?
Yeah, it's always been repairing. And then I guess about 3 years ago, I figured I need to make one. I'd been fixing them for a long time, and I had very specific ideas about the next guitar I wanted. And so I started looking at all these different boutique manufacturers, and even started thinking about seeing if I could, I started looking at kits. I knew there were a couple of companies that sold like special runs of their stuff, what they call in the white, right? So unfinished. And I thought, man, if I could get a hold of one of those, then I could alter it to make it what I want. And then finally I was like, would you just build a guitar? Like, like, do you really want to buy one and then take it apart and put it back together? Like, just build one. And so it was kind of scary, because that was a, jumping into that as a skill set that I was basically going to be acquiring as I went. Now things like fretting guitars, I'd done a ton of refrets, and so that kind of stuff didn't scare me much. It was things like routing the neck pocket and making sure everything fit right. The level of woodworking I was going to have to do was going to escalate exponentially versus the little stuff I was doing for repairs. So I spent a lot of time reading, I've got 3 or 4 books that I read multiple times, and then spent hours and hours and hours on the internet before I ever picked up a tool, partly because wood's expensive. And so I didn't want to screw it up. And I hate prototyping. I hate spending time building something that's not going to be the thing that I planned on building anyway. And so rough drafts and prototypes just never work for me. Like I gotta start on what's going to be the finished thing. So I made a list of everything I wanted to get out of the guitar, and then design goals, right? So that first one was, how big a sound can I get out of a smaller than standard box? Because it's a 12.5-inch lower bow, which is pretty small. It's smaller than a Les Paul, but then it's pretty deep, and it's semi-hollow, and I achieved what I was shooting for. It gets a big full sound, and it's a small body. So part of that was, let's make something that is comfortable to play for extended periods of time. If you've got a pit gig, it's got a really small headstock and a really small body, so you can fit in your little guitar corner very easily. So then the second one, which is a solid body, it's cedar, right, with an ash neck, and the design goal with that one was, what would I build if I built an SG, right? So it's solid with beveled edges instead of an arched top, and then Bigsby, just because Bigsby's are rock and roll, and so that was going to be like my just rock and roll, no bullshit guitar, right? And then this last one I made was the goal was kind of be the opposite of that. The really pretty guitar that you might not want to take on the gig, right? Was what I was going for. And then other things too, like experimenting with the internal top carve, and trying a couple of different things with the headstock and stuff like that. I try to get at least one new skill every time I build one.
This is less of a question, more of like a admiration, but it's like, it seems like it's just incredibly precise, that every single thing is just...
Try to make it precise. yeah. And I mean, that's part of the scary part about building guitars is everything's got to be just perfect, man. I mean, some things, if you're a 64th of an inch off, you're sunk. And so sometimes those, like routing neck pockets and things like that, those cuts are... You just got to kind of cross your toes and grit your teeth and go in. But I'm kind of a measure 10 times cut once.
Because I mean, like, if one thing is just like the tiniest bit off, it's like it's never going to be in tune.
Right.
For example.
Right.
It's just like
or it's never going to play right.
Yeah.
And then also, the way I build, I'm routing the neck pocket as one of the last aspects of the rough shaping of the body, which means I've spent a whole lot of time on that body already. So if I screw it up, that's a lot of hours of work that I'm going to be tossing out the door. So that's another incentivizer to not mess up.
Cool. I mean, have you done a lot of gigs with those guitars?
I have, I've pretty much been exclusively playing my guitars since I built the first one.
That's awesome.
It's really cool to get to play something that you made for you, so it's going to do everything that you want it to. And I know all the ins and outs of my guitars. I know what they're going to sound like wherever the knobs are set. And that's, it's cool to be that in tune with your instrument. You know? And I don't know if you get that if you don't spend lots of time, with screwdrivers and wrenches on whatever you whatever you work on. Whether it's a car or a guitar or whatever. But yeah, and then too, that's part of my R&D, right? I can take it out on the gig and see if I like what I tried. And if I didn't, I can go back and change it. And it's also fun to have people come up, in between sets and go, "Hey, what kind of guitar is that?" Like, I built it.
No, bragging rights.
Yeah.
I think that. Okay, so. You're like a multi-instrumentalist. What is your main instrument?
My main instrument's probably guitar. That's probably the easiest bet is guitar, and then voice.
Because I'm a singer first before anything else. But it's like, it's weird to transfer like voice being a part of you, and that is sort of knowing the ins and outs of your instrument.
Yeah.
But like translating that to an instrument that isn't you, but making it a part of you.
Right.
How does that sort of translate, being both a vocalist and a guitarist?
Yeah. So I started out on trombone, like I said. So that's all, it's all very methodical. You're reading the notes. You're playing exactly what's supposed to be on the page, right? And if you don't, your director's going to gripe at you. So I guess being an instrumentalist first, I think, makes you think differently about voice. I see voice as just another instrument. It just happens to be in our throat, and we can make words with it, right?
Yeah.
But it's still an instrument, so that means it's still subject to all the things that all the other instruments are subject to. Things like time and articulation, all that stuff. All those things exist. All those aspects of a musical note exist outside of any instrument, right? So then, really, what happens with me is I'm just thinking about music, and then how can I get the music that I'm trying to make out of whatever instrument that I happen to be using. But I'm still thinking about it in much the same way, no matter what instrument that I'm on.
Yeah.
So I can think of it in a more complex way with instruments that I'm better at.
Sure.
But I kind of feel like that once you internalize the ideas, the concepts of music, then everything else is just a matter of technique.
Yeah.
Right? It's just learning how to make it work. Yeah.
And then how does that, so getting these ideas of music in general, I feel like, does that make it easier to pick up a different instrument?
It does.
Get better at it.
Yeah, it does. It does. For one thing, especially like studying jazz, right? There's a lot of improvisation involved, right? But most of that improvisation, or quote unquote improvisation, a lot of it comes from established approaches, established strategies, established licks. I mean, there's entire lick dictionaries, basically, right? So then, you learn the licks, and you get to where you can recognize them, and then you get to where you can recognize, theoretically, right, musically, what notes were played in that lick versus the key, right? And so then you get to where you can think in those terms, right? You can think in that language, and you know the nuts and bolts of what you're trying to get out. So if you've got a lick in your head and you're like, okay, I know what that lick is, versus, so there's a difference between knowing what notes are in the lick, right, the phrase, and knowing what the phrase looks like on your instrument, right? It's one thing to go, okay, I know that lick because I'm a guitar player and he's a guitar player, and that's a guitar lick and it goes like this, right? That's one thing. But then the other side of that is going, okay, this is the phrase that I want to use, and I know it's this collection of notes. Where is that collection of notes on this instrument, right? And so then the music is actually coming from you, and you're just using the instruments as a vehicle to get it out.
Yeah. So it's the music first rather than the instrument.
Yeah. Because if you're not careful, the instrument can dictate the kind of music you're playing.
Yeah.
I mean, when I pick up my guitar, I tend to write guitar music.
Yeah. And I feel like even though I'm primarily a singer, I end up writing a lot on piano.
Yeah.
And so my keyboard dictates how I'm going to make that music because of the shape of a keyboard and everything like that.
I had a guitar teacher in college in Kansas, and he was asking me one time. He goes, because we were talking about singing while you're playing, And he goes, well, can you sing everything you can play? And yeah, I can. I can sing along with my solos and stuff like that. He goes, okay, can you play everything you can sing? It's like, oh, crap. Like I never even thought of that. Mm-hmm. And he goes, yeah, if you want to know who you actually are, if you want to know what music actually comes from you, then just sing it out and then learn it. Mm-hmm. And then we're moving the opposite direction. Then the music's coming from you instead of coming from the instrument, basically. Right?
That's awesome. Sort of shifting, and I never find a good way to shift into this part of the podcast, but really deep questions. Like I had asked last time, what role does religion or spirituality have in your life?
Yeah. I would honestly say that religion doesn't have much role in my life at all. I'm not a religious person. I wasn't brought up religious. Like I'm not sure I can remember any time that my parents took me to church. Yeah. Except maybe on Christmas a couple times. Mm-hmm. My dad's family is not particularly religious at all. My mom's family's, her mom's side anyway, is staunch Catholic. I mean, like my great grandma had a picture of the Pope hanging in her living room. Yeah. Right? I mean, they were like old school. Mm-hmm. It was always nice to go there. They have a giant farm, and it's like old school, hardworking Catholic folks. Yeah. Just good people. But yeah, we never went to church, and I kind of my spiritual journey is kind of weird, I guess, especially for the Midwest. But I started getting into Aleister Crowley pretty heavy in high school, and not so much. I mean, partly for the occult aspect. I find the occult really interesting to read about, right? And I don't like engage in ceremonial magic or anything. I find it really interesting to read, and I really enjoy Crowley because on one side he was kind of an historian. He was looking through a lot of stuff, and he was also I don't even know what the word I want to use is, but he fused a lot of things. Yeah. He would relate different mythical pantheons to each other, right? He would point out that guys like Hermes then can relate to the Celtic Green Man, or Dionysus, I guess, can relate back to the Celtic Green Man and things like that. And he was one of the first guys to point that stuff out, right? And he was pulling stuff and quoting from Carl Jung and things like that. It's really smart stuff. And people just write him off as he's a Satanist. He was so evil. It's like, man, if you read him, you might get a little smarter. You don't have to believe everything he says. Yeah. But he knew a lot of stuff. Yeah. So I started getting into that stuff, and I read some of him, and I started reading tarot cards, and read some other guys too. And then there's a spiritualist church in Wells, Kansas. It's up north of Salina. It was about an hour and a half from where I lived. And I knew some people that were kind of involved with that. So a couple times a year I'd head up there. They had a summer teen camp that I went to a couple times, and then they had a 2-week long. It was like a spiritualist camp, right? They had cabins you could rent out, right? And they had people come from all over the country that did body work, energy work, psychic readings, things like that. And it was really cool, man. A really positive environment. Everybody there was really, the nice thing about hanging out with people who live on the fringe is that more often than not, they're really accepting because they're used to being blocked out of places. Yeah. And so they just want to hug everybody when they come in, It's it's cool. You're home. Well, we don't care what you think about things. You're good here, So I did that. I never joined up, but it was really interesting. I learned lots of things there. And I went to the Gnostic Catholic Church a couple times here in Oklahoma City. I was working at a bookstore, I was working at a liquor store, and
And during the daytime, there's not a whole lot of stuff going on at the liquor store. So once I was done, doing the restocking and sweeping the floors, my boss was cool if I just brought a book. So I was sitting around reading Crowley's The Book of Lies, and these folks come in and they're like, "Are you reading the Book of Lies?" I was like, "Yeah, you know this book?" And they're like, "Yeah, we that the local chapter of the OTOs, the Order of Oriental Templars that Crowley kind of revamped and refounded. He kind of revived it.
Yeah.
And so you should come and check us out. So I went a couple times and it was okay, but I felt like they were worshiping Crowley, which I thought was weird because he said you shouldn't worship anybody.
Yeah.
So this isn't going to work for me. But it was interesting.
Yeah.
And that's my thing with spirituality, right? Like in the end, I figure you should just try to be a good person, right?
Yeah.
That's my general philosophy. If I try my best to be a good person, then I figure everything ought to work out.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then there was some game going on that I don't really want to be involved in anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just jump on things and try them out and check them out, because I figure at the base everybody's kind of saying the same thing.
Sure.
So it's fun to see the different ways people say it, Now, Amy and I, my wife and our kids, we go to Mayflower United Church of Christ, which is way different than the Church of Christ, right? United Church of Christ and Church of Christ, totally different. But they're pretty laid back, and there's nothing you have to. I like it because there's nothing you have to sign up or agree to to be part of the family, right?
Yeah.
And I'm good friends with one of the pastors that we had there. He's since moved on to Tulsa, but I mean, if you had met me 20 years ago and told me that I'd be pals with multiple pastors, I would have said you were crazy.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm not hanging out with those people. But but they're cool, and they know I'm not, a quote unquote Christian.
Sure.
I think a lot of the stuff in the Bible is great, but I don't necessarily believe in a supreme being who sent his son here and all that stuff, right? If you believe that, that's cool. Not me, but if we're both trying to be good people, who cares?
Yeah.
So, I consider myself an agnostic. Long story short, I'm agnostic, and I think of that in the literal sense of the word, right? I don't know how they say it other places, but in America we say agnostic, which I think it should actually be pronounced agnostic, right? Because gnostic means to know, right? Gnosis is to know, right? It's a Greek word. And then a being the prefix that mean not, right?
Yeah.
Typical is typical and atypical is not typical, right? Asymmetrical, not symmetrical. So agnostic would mean to not know.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
And in general, when people tell me that they do know, I don't really believe them.
Yeah.
Because, if you haven't seen it, if you don't, and faith isn't knowing. Faith is faith.
Yeah.
And that, I think that gets confused a lot too. People are like, well, I know there's a God because I have faith. Well, no. That's what your faith is for.
Yes.
You don't actually know.
Yeah.
You're just hoping that you're right, which that's fine, But you got to. There has to be a difference, right? Because what you believe isn't fact. That's just your belief, right?
Yeah.
And when you get there, you'll find out if you were right or not. But
Sure.
until then,
yeah.
But,
Do you think I know that there's a separation between just going I don't know and I'm not going to try and make any guesses, or do you have guesses that you sort of like
what happens next?
Yeah.
I don't. And that's why I like reading lots of different things, right? Everybody's got a theory, right? There's lots of different ideas about what might be out there, but me personally, I have absolutely no idea. I'll find out when I get there.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the better decision, just because you'll be proven wrong less easily.
Yeah, well, and I figure there's less to worry about. I've just got one thing to worry about: try and be good.
Yeah,
and see what that gets me, right? But yeah, I mean, if you have a set of prescribed things that you think are going to happen, then you spend a whole lot of time and energy on what you think might happen when you're not here. I don't want to spend my time here worrying about the next thing.
Yeah.
Like, then how much am I going to miss out? Right?
Yeah.
How much am I not going to get done? So,
how's that affected the kind of music that you make?
I don't think it's affected it very much. I mean, obviously, I don't write hymns.
Sure.
But no, I don't think it affects it very much. Sometimes in my lyrics, I throw pieces of what I believe in there, but I leave it vague enough that it's open to anybody. And partly it's vague because I don't believe a whole lot.
Yeah.
Robert Anton Wilson said, "Belief is the death of knowledge," which I wouldn't say I'm militant about that.
Sure.
But I try to adhere to it quite a bit because I have no interest in making my mind and my heart rigid to something that I don't even really know if it's true or not.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, how does that affect how you raise your kids?
Well, I guess the main way it affects it is that there's no I should preface this by saying my wife grew up in an extremely religious family. She grew up Church of Christ,
sure,
and her dad was one of the like elders of the church. He's not anymore, but they moved churches and whatnot. But like serious Church of Christ is how she came up. But she's not really. She's not really in that anymore, right? And we have different beliefs. I mean, she believes in God, she believes in heaven, all that stuff, right? I don't, but doesn't affect the fact that we're both trying to be good people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with our kids, there's none of that like religious negative reinforcement, right? There's no. We don't talk about you're going to hell or you need to do this to make Jesus happy, or, stuff like that. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
One thing that's a challenge for me is when like my 6-year-old comes home from school talking about, God made the sky blue, stuff like that, right? Because we're in Oklahoma, everybody's religious, right?
Yeah.
And nobody thinks anything about like throwing that stuff out to kids. Well, God did that, and so then he asks me, and I'm like, well, maybe. and that's all I go with. Like, maybe he did, I don't need to program my 6-year-old, right? And again, like all that stuff doesn't really have to bear on whether or not he's being a good person and loving his fellow man, right? So I just roll with it for now because for one, he's 6. His brain is not working on a level that makes that a useful conversation, right? And I part of the reason I think this way is how I was brought up. It was that I was never as a kid. My parents never told me what I had to think and what I had to believe and what I had to do.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, I have to take out the trash. I have to do the dishes, but you don't have to be this kind of person, right?
Yeah.
Like my parents talk about both really free spirits, and the indoctrination was not part of their parenting strategy, right? And so I stay away from that for my kids, right? I have no desire to make them believe anything, right?
Yeah.
I explored. I found what works for me. They can too,
sure,
right? So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, it's really good. I guess we'll have to once again extend this a little bit more. Go ahead.
One of my favorite things that Wilson said was that he thought that we should replace the word "is" with "seems to me to." What is it? Seems to me right now to be.
Yeah.
and it's like if you replace all "ises" with that.
Yeah.
Then we argue a lot less.
Yeah, we become a little bit more comfortable with the idea of.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not.
Right. You're introducing the idea that you could also be wrong. I was thinking about this the other day. Like when you disagree with somebody, right? Do you disagree with them or do you think they're wrong?
Yeah.
Because those are different ideas. I've got some friends that we differ on certain things, and I think they're wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're like, I don't think gay people should get married, well then I don't just disagree with you. I think you're wrong.
Yes.
But there are lots of other things that aren't that clear cut, and so you can just say, well, it seems to me that it's this way, and it seems to you that it's this way. That's okay. And then we don't have to hate each other.
Sure.
Maybe we can talk about something and meet in the middle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, there's a lot, and obviously, like, in our field, it seems like we're a lot more objective than we probably should be.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this sound is bad. That sounds bad.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to, when I worked for Keeley Electronics, that's a boutique effects company. And one of my gigs there was fielding all of the emails that came in asking about how to get certain sounds, right? Or what combination of effects will accomplish this, things like that. And I get people writing in that would say, like, I was on a forum and I posted my pedal board and some guys on there said that the way I have it wired up is hurting my sound. Can you help? And so my first response was, well, have these people heard the sound you're making? Like that, right? Like this is they're applying some kind of objective rule system to something that is not objective at all, right? And it makes them feel really good to tell people that they're wrong, right? But it's like, and what I would tell people is like, well, do you like the way it sounds? Then there's nothing wrong with it.
Sure.
And if you don't, then tell me in what way you don't like the way it sounds. We can work that out, right? But if it's just some douchebag online that said you're wrong, screw him.
Which is the whole of Gear Sluts.
Right, right. When I started doing videos for Walrus Audio, one of the first ones, a couple of guys got on and like bitched about my tone, like in the comments section. And I was like, oh, these guys are talking my tone, and I was sitting there next to my wife, and my wife goes, oh, and are these YouTube commenters what we would call professional guitarists? I was like, oh snap! Like I don't know, maybe not. Like. Made me think completely differently about that, because at first it was kind of a slap in the face. I didn't expect it. Like, this guy's tone his shit. I'm like, hey, man, I was just trying to show the pedal. Sorry, you know? But then it's like, well, I don't know you, man. Who cares? I like my sound. Lots of other people do too. It's okay.
I'm gonna circle back into my initial asking you questions thing just because I didn't finish that out. But I feel like it might just transition naturally into just the other one.
Okay.
I'm friends with you on Facebook. You say a whole bunch of really relevant political things that are, I think, helpful to the conversation.
Cool.
So I mean, why do you find that important to speak out about?
Well, because it's our world. You know, I've actually been trying to tone myself down the last couple months and just not say anything in anger, right? And one thing I've been experimenting with is presenting things without reference. So it's just an idea. And what I find interesting is that people that I disagree with really strongly politically, that I know we're at complete odds, will like the post.
Sure.
Because, we can all agree on things like it would be a lot better if we elected representatives rather than leaders and let people run amok once they get there, right?
Yeah.
I had people that are complete polar opposite of me go, well, right on. There's so many things we can get behind all together, But I think that stuff's important. And I mean, again, part of it is the way I was brought up. I was taught to always question authority, and I was taught that nobody has the right to tell you how to live.
Sure,
at least not in America. That's what America's for, man. So I guess I take some of that stuff seriously. But I think it's better to start a conversation than an argument.
And a lot of what I have appreciated is much less I've been seeing a lot less I'm right and you're wrong, and more of just like, let's try to have a conversation here.
Yeah.
And you really just put out ideas and people have conversations.
Yeah, and that's what I like about Facebook is getting those conversations happening. And if you're connected to a broad enough spectrum of people, you can get a lot of differing viewpoints, and you might even get your mind changed about something, which is cool too. I love having my mind changed.
Yeah.
Like, everybody should be looking for that.
Yeah.
You know? It's how we grow.
Is there like a certain way that you think that, like, what are some changes that you would like to see?
Well, back on our previous subject, I'd like to see a whole lot less religion in everything. I would like to see a lot less ideology and a lot more logic and rationality involved. I would like, just on a broader scale, I would like to see experts involved. It really disturbs me that we've almost become like anti-expert. Some aspects of our society have, there were guys saying that you shouldn't listen to climate change scientists because they think the climate is changing because they're paid to be climate change scientists, and somehow they benefit from their theory.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, you shouldn't ask a scientist about science because he's a scientist and he makes money from science? That's insane.
Yeah.
You wouldn't specifically avoid talking to a plumber if you had a problem with your plumbing.
Yeah.
Even though you have to pay him to talk to him. It's just crazy to me. And one of the first rules of business is you hire people that are good at things that you're not good at. You do the stuff that you're good at, and then the other things you hire people that are good at.
Yeah.
But for some reason, our government has no interest in doing that. It just freaks me out, and it's very disturbing to me, because then it's all run by ideology, and that's not productive or healthy, And again, changing minds, having a conversation. You can't have a conversation about an ideology. You can't talk about beliefs because you can't rationalize them, which means you can't debate them or argue against them or for them. They're just beliefs, man.
Yeah.
And so without some logic in there, you end up where we are now.
Yeah. How do we move towards that?
I have absolutely no idea. Honestly, I think education is one of the most important things in our country that we don't do enough about, for one thing, especially in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But so many of these crazy ass problems that we have get better if education improves, right? Just statistically, I know it's purely correlative, it might not be causative, but if education goes up, teen pregnancy goes down, crime goes down, bigotry goes down. Like, education goes up, bad things go down.
Yeah.
So let's make everybody smarter, and then maybe we end up electing representatives that don't think that women can only get pregnant if they want to.
Yeah.
Or crazy shit like that. How do you get out of middle school thinking that, man? And there are people that are literally writing our laws that think shit like that.
Yeah.
And I find that terrifying.
Yeah.
And so if we can't get the people younger than those people smarter than them, then we're in real trouble, I think. And I can't imagine a rational argument for less education unless your goal is to have people be not smart so they'll listen to you. That's and I'm sure that's a little bit paranoid.
Sure,
but
what could go wrong in educating people?
Right. Yes. There can't be anything bad about that.
Yeah. Do you think that government itself can solve these problems?
I think people can. I don't. And something my college history teacher said that changed the way I thought about it a lot was he wouldn't let us use the government as an answer for anything.
Sure.
Right? So it's like, who did this? Well, the government decided. He's like, no, the government doesn't decide anything.
Yeah.
Government it's not an entity, right? Mm-hmm. There are people in the government, and they make those decisions, right? And so it's just all about people, you know. Yeah. There was a movement I remember reading about last year that was trying to get anti-gerrymandering laws put forth as public questions, not as bills, right? Because we all know that the guys running the game aren't going to vote against the rules that are working for them, right? That's never going to happen. And so if you put it in the hands of the people, then maybe we can like actually take the government back, because it's not ours anymore, and it hasn't been for a really long time. But you know, I mean, shoot, look at Oklahoma, right? We vote to decriminalize things, and then the people we voted in to represent us say, "You guys didn't really know what you're doing. Let us handle this for you." And it's like, that's not why we put you there, man. And how offensive is that to get told that like you just didn't know what you were voting for? Like, no, I did.
Is there like a greater goal out of, I guess, just like having these conversations out there?
I think I think the greater goal is to raise consciousness and get people smarter and more productive, you know, in a positive way.
Because I feel like is there an end goal to society, basically?
No, I mean, I've always thought of it as just we're all trying to, at least hopefully, we're all trying to get to the pinnacle of what we can be, right? Like hopefully everyone in the human race is working towards the human race being the best human race it can be, right? Like hopefully you as an individual are always trying to be the best you that you can be, right? So we should be able to do that on a global scale too. You know? And if you're not working for that, then what are you doing? You're just working against it, you know? I mean, on an individual level, if you're not working toward being the best you can be, then
what are you doing?
Then you're either staying the same or working on being a worse you. And what's that going to accomplish, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of it is self-centeredness, right? You know, a lot of people get hung up on this idea that if you grow, that means that I shrunk. Yeah. But that's not. They don't have to run together like that, right? In fact, if you grow and I grow, then we actually both grow bigger. Yeah. You know, and if we can all grow together, then we can get some shit done, right? Yeah. I used to work for a guy that couldn't give props to an employee without throwing himself in it. You know, he's like, "Hey, let's give it up for Steve. He came up with a great thing this week. I could have done it too, but I didn't have time, so he did it. So good for him." You know, and it's like, what? Why did you have to say that, right? But it's for this guy, someone else's success was his failure, right? You know, and I would say that holds for our president right now. You know? Winning to him means somebody else lost. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be that way. You know, it's sad, right? And it's completely anti-synergistic. Yeah.
There's a phrase that did you see Arrival?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
There's a phrase that like the main character's daughter asked her to like, is there like a word for a deal where both people win? And she like had a hard time like imagining like, wait, is there a deal where? But then like she thought of it later, and it was like really important to the movie. Right. But like the way that just that idea in general, I was like, oh, a deal where both people win.
Yeah, yeah. And like, well, why should that be for? It shouldn't be, right? Yeah. You know, just if I get more, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have less, right? And if I'm trying to get more, hopefully I'm not trying to take it from other people. Yeah. Right? Because then you're working against our growth. Yeah.
Is world peace possible?
I have no idea. maybe in 1,000 years, who knows, right? I mean, because you still have our animalistic human nature to get through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until we get past that, until we start thinking on a higher level than these like, you know, basic lizard brain and early mammal brain functions, we're done. You know, I really honestly wonder how many people, you know, like
Keep going. I'm going to shut this door.
Oh, okay. Timothy Leary has a theory of God, I forget how he puts it, but like socio-evolutionary psychocircuits or something like that, right?
So like whenever you combine a whole bunch of terms like that, it makes it sound really smart.
But it's basically like evolutionary consciousness, right? Mm-hmm. So you start out with circuit 1, which is your lizard brain, right? Mm-hmm. And that's eat, sleep, screw, mm-hmm. right? That's what lizard brain is, right?
Yeah.
It's need, take,
mm-hmm.
fulfilling needs. And then, but that's the first circuit that we have mm-hmm. as beings, right? When you're born, it's just about basic needs.
Yeah.
That's it, right? And that's all lizard brain. That's circuit mm-hmm. 1, right? That's the earliest part of the brain that evolved, right?
Yeah.
That's Carl Sagan called it the lizard brain. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you've got circuit 2, which is the mammal brain, right? Mm-hmm. Mammal brain is social interaction, mm-hmm. right? It's pack mentality.
Yeah.
Robert Anton Wilson refers to it as top dog, bottom dog, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. In his book Prometheus Rising, he goes through all of Leary's circuits and explains them. And then at the end of each chapter, he has exercises you can do to see how that circuit functions in your brain, right? Like how it affects your behavior.
Yeah.
What I love, the circuit 2 chapter at the end of it, he says, so for the next week, every time you meet somebody or you're talking with them, kind of ask yourself in your head, could I beat this person in a fight? And then analyze how you interact with them mm-hmm. based on your knowledge of that answer.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, right? But the way I figure it, like racism and all that stuff, it ties right into circuit 2, right? Mm-hmm. This is my pack and that's your pack. You stay away from my pack mm-hmm. or we have to fight because there's not enough food, right? Yeah. But there is enough food, right? And we might have different packs, but we're all the same species, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah. How many people actually get past circuit 2?
Yeah.
I often wonder, right? And I find that a little scary that yeah. a lot of the time that's all you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. You know, is just basic need and famine mentality, right? Scarcity mm-hmm. mentality. There's not enough, so I need to take so I can
yeah.
have, right? But you know, we're on Earth, man. Like, there is enough. There's more than enough mm-hmm. if you're willing to
make it happen.
Yeah.
And I think at this point I'm just gonna I normally do 2, but I'm just gonna super merge this, and it'll just be one really long one.
And I ramble too. Sorry.
The last question that I ask off the first one is, what advice do you have for people?
Evolve. Like no matter what you're doing, right? Like as a person, as a parent, as an artist, as a mechanic, mm-hmm. whatever you're doing, always be evolving, yeah. right? Because the minute you stop, that's then you stopped, right? And if we're all doing it together, then we can all be more, right? Mm-hmm. So just evolve. Yeah. Just try to add something new into your brain every day. Yeah.
I think it's great. I'm just going to, again, just merge into the conversation thing. But so in all that you've been mentioning already, I'm we're in the same wavelength.
Cool.
So I was in every podcast with my 3 things. They form my life philosophy, which are love never fails, it's going to be okay, and I might be wrong.
Yeah.
And so
I can relate to all that.
Yeah. And so each of those sort of I try to squeeze into every facet of my life to sort of improve who I am, improve hopefully if people ask me for advice that I can improve their lives with it.
Yeah.
And one of the big things about I might be wrong, which has been much more prevalent lately, politically and scientifically or whatever, is that people have been much less willing to accept that they are wrong or just embrace a new idea.
Yeah.
Anything that conflicts with my existing ideology is hazardous and will therefore be put away or answered to with violence.
Yeah, I have to attack it or run from it.
Yeah. But I'm also a firm believer that I think that world peace is possible. Sort of going back to like the however unlikely it might be, I do think that it is possible.
Yeah. And as long as the majority of people want it, we can probably get it.
Yeah. And that's the thing that in our society, and I feel like having to challenge the whole idea of capitalism is a little bit hazardous. But we're so focused on this like me and myself and sort of this circuit 1 and 2 mentality of like, well, if it doesn't benefit me and us, then I don't care.
Right.
But the rising tide raises all ships.
That's right.
And yeah, that sounds like communism, and so people are really scared of that. But the thing is that a lot of people, while they say like, oh yeah, world peace would be nice, but they don't like really like commit to that.
No.
Nobody ever really goes like, oh yeah, world peace, let's do it.
Yeah.
Other than like, people who are just usually labeled as crazy people anyways.
Yeah, because it is really foreign to, I mean, like even just the idea of being a pacifist, right, is so strange.
Yeah.
In America anyway. What? Like, what if somebody calls you a name? You're not going to fight him?
Yeah.
How?
And that's like, it all sort of like circles itself in that the world, especially right now, and it's going to continue to be that way until we either all die in a mass extinction or, somehow have like a crisis, have us all go.
Yeah.
We need to change our priorities quickly.
Right.
Because we're all going to die soon.
Right. Yeah, sure.
And it won't be pretty unless we do something about it.
Right. That's you've seen Watchmen, right? Mm-hmm. Have you ever read it?
I'm reading it now.
Actually. Cool. Okay. Well, I won't spoil it for you because the end is different than the movie. Mm-hmm. But the concepts are the same, right? Mm-hmm. Where Veidt, right, Ozymandias, he figures out that the only way we're going to get world peace is if we have an external threat.
Yeah.
So he just creates a fake external threat to get everybody behind it, and it works, And if you look back, like, one school of thought says that FDR let Pearl Harbor happen to get us into World War II, right? It takes things like that to get people behind it, right?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have gotten into Vietnam if not for the alleged Gulf of Tonkin incident, right? Which may or may not have happened, right? And then, you look at things like the Project for a New American Century where they're saying, what America needs is another Pearl Harbor to get behind, right? And
in another sense, going into conspiracy theory land, like 9/11 being another.
Right. I don't want to. I don't want to go near that, but maybe that's what it's going to take is an external threat, an Alan Moore style, like an asteroid coming at the Earth or some kind of alien threat to get us all to figure out, like, oh wait, like we are actually one thing,
The thing is that we are facing it. And it is real. It's not like a fake external threat.
Right.
It's a real external threat.
True.
That we're like, hey, look, the world might die with us on it unless we do something about it.
Yeah. But unfortunately, there are people benefiting from that. And they have most of the money and most of the guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like you almost need, you've got to have something that those guys aren't involved in either, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, it's like, what could go wrong if we follow the train of thought of, okay, let's just say hypothetically that climate change is real.
Right.
Let's see what happens. Let's do everything that we can to counteract this.
Yeah.
You know, stop all fossil fuels, move into renewables, and see what happens.
Right. What could it hurt? Right?
Yeah.
I had a friend one time. He's a pretty conservative dude, and he was giving me grief about recycling. And he's like, well, it takes more energy to recycle that plastic than blah, 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 right? And, and I was like, look, man, like, I don't even care what you think about global warming, right? Because then he went into a tirade about global warming's fake. But I'm like, I don't care. Are you telling me that less trash would be bad? If not, I'm going to keep recycling.
Sure.
Right? It doesn't, all that other stuff doesn't matter, right? We can talk about ideologies and what you think about stuff, but less trash is probably better.
Yeah.
So let's try it.
And I'm also a firm believer, one, that you said that like the earth can sustain us.
Yeah.
And I'm also a big proponent of technology providing a lot of that for us.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I read a lot of science fiction and stuff, but like, I do think that like we can achieve all of that through a great means of technology. And, you know, people like Elon Musk he's trying to do it within the confines of capitalism that it allows him. And he's lucky enough to be filthy rich to be able to do so.
Right. And to support people that are coming up with that stuff, right? Imagine if Elon Musk had been around when Tesla was working.
Yeah.
You know, instead of other guys that had a lot of money that really just wanted to either market or hide his stuff, right?
Exactly.
You know, somebody that said, let me just give you a lot of money and you go ahead and come up with whatever you got, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that guy was coming up with wireless power in the 1920s. Like, we still haven't figured out what he was doing.
Yeah. But I mean, now we're led by the idea that if it's not profitable, then it's not going to get off the ground.
Right.
Which there's a lot of ideas that aren't profitable that are going to help us all.
Right. And is money the only profit? You know, there are lots of other ways to profit, you know, other than money.
Yeah, but that's the world that we live in.
Right.
And
What country was it a few years back that had the gross national happiness movement?
I don't remember.
Okay. I watched a documentary about it. It was like 5 or 6 years ago, I think. But yeah, that was their thing, was working toward gross national happiness. That's so badass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because even studies show that, like, so Chris Ryan, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He wrote a book called Sex at Dawn, but he's writing another book called Civilized to Death.
Okay.
And he always references this joke from Louis C.K., which is like the first time that he got like Wi-Fi on a plane.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, we're trying this new thing, and you know, we can do Wi-Fi on the plane.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool, this is so cool. Like, I'm on this plane, and like I'm doing Wi-Fi, and then oh, I'm sorry, the Wi-Fi went down.
Yeah.
We just don't have Wi-Fi for the next. We're just gonna try to get it back up, and the guy next to him goes, this is bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, you didn't even know that this was a thing like 5 minutes ago.
Right, 5 minutes with that luxury, and that's his standard.
And so he always ends it with, like, these days, everything is awesome and nobody's happy.
Yeah.
And so the way that it goes, that even the richest people on earth are just like these like sad, angry people that are just like it's never enough, and it's just like. But even some of the happiest people are like, you know, living in like tiny homes that they built themselves out in the country with like hardly any money to their name, they're happier than the richest man on earth.
Right. It's like when George Carlin talked about that a little bit in terms of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you get money to get stuff, and then you get more stuff, and then you need to get stuff to put your stuff in,
Yeah.
and then you need to get stuff to protect your stuff, and people to protect your stuff, and then eventually, like it's all about your stuff, and nothing. I got to get more stuff, but then I got to get more stuff to put the stuff in, and it never stops. And yeah, you got a whole bunch of stuff, but are you happy? All you do is worry about your stuff.
Yeah. Or in other words, mo money, mo problems.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a large part of what I'm trying to do with this podcast is not even so much like, fuck the establishment or whatever, but at least just challenge the ideas.
Yeah.
And go, look, what actually works? What actually can make the world a better place?
Yeah.
And I say all this being a musician, but I consider myself to be more of a messenger that while I may not be like a scientist that puts all this stuff out there, I at least try and get the message out there that there are other people that do know how to make this stuff happen.
Yeah.
And we should try that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so I do feel that like more of what you're putting out there is helping us have more of that conversation.
Well, that's good to hear, man. Yeah, that's what I'm always trying to do too. Yeah.
What are some ways that we can make this conversation go a little bit easier?
I think one thing, start talking about the stuff that you love. Instead of the stuff that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
It can really it can not only change the people around you, it'll change your brain. It'll change the way you think about things. You know, just not it's not feeding that demon, right?
Yeah.
It's back to the that Native American thing, right? It's like you got a bad wolf and a good wolf, right? And, every person has that. I forget where the story came from, but yeah, the idea is that everybody has inside them a good wolf and a bad wolf, right? And the question is which wolf wins, and the answer is the one you feed. And yeah, if everybody would feed their good wolves a little more, right? And starve their demons, right?
Yeah.
And it works. That kind of stuff works a lot of different ways. I think a lot of the time we also focus on our issues, right? And we put a name on them, but then instead of using that as a tool to face what's inside ourselves, we instead use it as a crutch or a shield, right? You know, it's like,
we use it to define ourselves.
Right. I have social anxiety, so you need to treat me this way, right?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I have social anxiety, so I need to approach this situation this way, right? So, move inside yourself and talk about the stuff that you love, because when you do, people get excited and they get happy, and they might go check it out, right? And so if everybody's doing that, then everybody's checking out new stuff and new ideas and growing, So just talk about what you love.
And that way, you get less people putting each other down, less violence, less anger, and that's a little bit more of love never fails, and it's going to be okay,
right?
I like consistently try to just like fit everything within these so that I can like explore that a bit more.
Yeah. So have you read any Robert Anton Wilson?
Mm-mm.
You would love him. Yeah. Prometheus Rising is where I would start.
Mm-hmm. No, and I've been reading a lot of, lately I've just been listening to a whole bunch of podcasts, but Sam Harris and Chris Ryan. The thing about so people always look at Sam Harris with the new atheists and stuff. And it's Richard Dawkins and Chris Hitchens. But Sam Harris is different in the sense that he's not angry about it.
Yeah.
He's actually one of the most spiritual people I've heard that is an atheist.
Yeah.
In that rather than challenge your views of just like, oh, you're wrong and stupid and you're stupid for thinking that.
Yeah.
He's more just like, let's look at how we can take these ideas and take what's good out of them and look at what's bad.
Yeah.
And, structure our world that way.
Because if you're doing good things, who cares what you believe?
Exactly.
Right? I grew up in Hutchinson, Kansas, or around Hutchinson, Kansas. Went to school in Bueller. Pretty large Mennonite population there. Very, very, very Christian scene, right? And as a kid, I felt kind of held down and done wrong on several occasions by people that were very quote unquote devout Christians, right?
Sure.
Definitely said and did very unchristian things when it came to me, but yeah. So then I lashed out against that, right? And I became convinced that the belief system was the problem, right? But I don't think it is anymore, and I don't have any interest in trying to convince people to not be Christian anymore, right? Because there was a time when if somebody told me they were Christian, I was like, "Fuck you," right? Like you're not cool to me, right? Because everybody that believes like you has wronged me throughout my life, right?
Part of me is still overcoming that.
Yeah, it takes a while, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, and especially meeting my wife and being with her and her family and meeting good Christians, right, showed me that it might not necessarily be what you believe, but what you do.
Yeah.
And if you're doing good and you think that there's a guy on a golden throne in the clouds, who cares?
Yeah.
Did you feed some people today? Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the challenge, as usual, is making sure that it doesn't create extra badness with it.
Yeah.
And so like it is true that you and I or all these other people have been wronged by bad Christians, or bad other religious people.
Right. There's a lot of good ones too.
Yeah. And we shouldn't stop those people from doing good in the same way that the Christians shouldn't stop like non-religious people from doing good things as well.
Right.
And like the hard part is challenging the parts that become hazardous.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's part of the ideology, right? That's part of the belief system, and when you attack somebody's belief system, you attack them.
One of the I guess belief systems that I find myself challenging a lot with people that I greatly respect is the idea of human nature. And so a lot of people say that like, oh, it's just human nature for humans to kill people. It's human nature for people to be selfish, to do all these things. But from what I've read, which is to an extent a little biased because I want to think this, but at the same time it's like backed up by the information, is that humans are pretty good people, actually.
Yeah.
And if left alone in a good environment, that's the good environment is the catch, that we'll take care of each other and we'll do pretty good.
Yeah.
And because no one has ever gotten PTSD from helping a stranger. And that's the biggest thing that challenges that idea that, okay, is it human nature for us to kill people? Well, why do we get PTSD then?
Right.
And I feel like that's one of the first hurdles in taking this step towards sort of a world peace ideology, that we can go, well, maybe we can move towards something that's good without having this constant like, but it's never going to happen because that's just the way we are.
Right. And that's the easy way out, right? And it gives you a pass too, right? That horrible thing I did, it's just human nature, right? It's like if you cheat on your wife, and you're like, the heart wants what it wants. What? What about your brain, man?
Yeah.
Like, you make the choice.
Yeah.
it's so easy to put that choice off on somebody else. You know? I was thinking about that yesterday. I was driving in the car, listening to the radio, and they were talking about the new healthcare bill getting defeated, right? And I just thought about that, and I'm like, well, it didn't get defeated. Like nobody beat it. Like everybody seemed to agree, except the guys that came up with it. That was a bad idea.
Yeah.
So it failed.
Yeah.
It wasn't defeated.
Yeah.
And if you can't say I failed, and you think I was defeated, then all accountability is gone, right?
Yeah.
And that's most of us don't want accountability, right? If we're wrong, we'd really like it to be someone else's fault. But if you turn more of that inward, then you grow, right? And then you learn from the mistake instead of going, that guy screwed me.
Yeah. And it's hard because, like, so on one hand, like you said, a lot of these people that got past middle school and still think that the female body shuts itself down are representatives, but it's even scarier that people put them there. That not only is there a person that exists that holds these beliefs, it's even worse that other people are okay with, even if they themselves don't hold those beliefs, they're okay with putting someone in power that holds those beliefs. And
then you as the voter, you have to take responsibility for that. Like you got behind that. You supported that. And it's one thing if the guy gets in and then completely changes, you know, like I voted for Obama both times. The first time because I wanted him, and the second time because I didn't want the other guy, right? But yeah, then he got in, and then all of a sudden we've got, like, you know, bank bailouts and stuff like that.
More the
sure
same.
As hell wasn't what I voted for, you know. But then, you know, when you have a guy like Trump who said he was going to do things a lot of us thought sounded horrible, and then he gets in and he does them. Well, yeah, that's on the backs of everybody that voted for him. It has to be.
Yeah. And I mean, it's scary for me being brown and not a citizen, in the sense that I can't vote, and the consequences of these things are falling upon me without my control. And so a lot of what I am trying to do is tell other people. That's the least that I can do. Because I can't vote. I can't, you know. If I sign a petition, it's dishonest because I'm not a citizen, and so, like, it doesn't work. So I mean, if we're more honest with ourselves and try to pick people that are more honest, then maybe we can move forward in that sense. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of the times the system itself is perpetuating itself.
I mean, literally, right? I mean, because guys, I mean, they get into office and then they spend, you know, like let's say they get into Congress, right? Well, they just spend the next 2 years making sure they stay in. But what got done? Other than a re-election. And even, like, recently with the, like, internet privacy thing, like, this morning I was looking at a list of, like, donations from, like, telecom companies to every single one of these senators and representatives that voted to do away with these internet privacy rules. And then they tell us it was for us.
Well, no, it was for the free market. And so, like, honestly, some of the numbers on there are, like, surprisingly small.
Like it didn't take much.
Like it was like $1,000 or something, or like one guy didn't even receive any money. He just, like, became, like, a governor or something. It's just, like, just a slight step. That it's like, really, for that amount, like, you're gonna sell us out? But it all, I'm trying to challenge the system as well. That, to an extent, while it's good to try and change a little bit within our confines, there's going to come a point where we grow outside of the means that we can use this system to our benefit.
Yeah.
I kind of realized this example in a very small form. I was using a light version of Ableton Live, which only allows you 8 tracks.
Okay.
And for a couple of years there, I was doing whatever I could, and then it came to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need more tracks. I need to be able to do more outside of this. And it was like a hit to my wallet or whatever, but like it was a decision for the better. And it's like a silly example, but like to an extent, there's going to be a time when we go, this representative democracy thing seems to have collapsed in on itself.
Yeah.
And we might have to try something else.
Yeah.
Do you have any proposals for that?
None. None.
What can we do?
I guess about what?
To make it better. At least on our own small steps right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it still just comes back to people. Because everything's run by people. The government is not a thing in itself, right? It doesn't make decisions. People make decisions,
sure,
right? Either the people we put there or the people who put the people there, right? It can't make decisions on its own. So, back to that idea of just evolve, right?
Yeah.
If everybody's doing that, and like everybody, right? So that means like the representatives we elect are committed to evolving too, right? And I don't mean like Darwinistic evolution. I mean like personal evolution, growing. If everybody's committed to that, like within themselves and within the population, I think it works out, because then the decisions you make are going to be based on growth. But until everybody's behind it, or at least the majority of people are behind it, then we still have a lot of people who are either committed to stasis or committed to selfishness, right? One of my favorite quotes is, "Tradition is the illusion of permanence." It's like we just keep doing the same things because that way we still feel like home. Stop being safe, man. Like get scary. Or get yourself scared. I mean, that's why people retreat to their beliefs and their boxes, right? It's like, oh, you're scaring me, right? Well, just open yourself up to it, right? You might end up in a better place afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Just open up.
and that does go like, I ended up talking about politics, but like it goes beyond politics. It goes beyond culture and like society.
Because politics is just how we decide how we're going to run things for everybody, right? How we're going to make our space work for the people, right? But I mean, especially in Oklahoma, we know that politics are run by ideologies. So let's get an ideology of growth, and then we would have politics of growth. Yeah, and
sure. Thank you for doing the podcast with me.
Thank you, Santiago. This is really fun.
Yeah. Where can we find you and your music?
So you can find my band Equilibrium. We're on SoundCloud.
Cool.
And we're also on Facebook as Equilibrium Live. If you just look for Equilibrium, like facebook.com/Equilibrium is like a Swedish black metal band. So Equilibrium Live is us. We'll be playing, let's see, April 8th we're going to be at Belle Isle Brewery, and May 20th we'll be there again. And
hopefully this will be up by April 8th. I don't think so. Right. Sorry.
And if you like guitars and toys and comics and have absolutely no interest in politics or religion, catch me as Medlam Guitar Works on Instagram, because nobody on Instagram knows what I think about anything except guitars and toys.
Yeah. Cool. And then the question that I usually ask at the end of the second one is, what's some stuff that you want other people to look into, whether it be like music or books or comics or whatever?
I don't know that I'm qualified to direct anyone toward music because there's so much out there and so many different kinds. You know, like everyone you meet has something cool. You know.
Yeah.
So I would direct people to find out what their friends are listening to.
Cool.
Go and lighten up, right? Like go read some comic books.
Sure.
Because there's still a kid inside you somewhere, and that kid likes to have fun, right? And you can work out some pretty heavy emotional concepts through comics too, in a non-threatening way. Let's see. Check out Gobekli Tepe. Have you heard of that place?
Yeah.
Check out the Piri Reis map.
That stuff's crazy.
Yeah. Go find the things that exist and we don't know why, and then stay away from speculation. Don't. If somebody says, this is what I think happened, right? If they're not the best expert you can find, don't listen. Just listen to questions. I guess that's what I would direct people to do, is look for questions, right? Yeah. Because the questions are oftentimes more important than the answers. And I trust people with questions way more than I trust people with answers. So just ask questions.
Sure.
And ask everybody. Yeah.
I like that a lot. Thank you. You can find me and everything that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com. I make music and I do this podcast, which I always end with my 3 things, which are love never fails, it's going to be okay, I might be wrong.